SeizedYourBusiness.com podcast with Tony Rourke and Kevin O'Flaherty.
SeizedYourBusiness.com, making you money. Share it on Facebook, share it on LinkedIn, Twitter, our blogs, YouTube videos, listen to our podcast, getting so hot that it's burning up the stereo.
Welcome to the SeizedYourBusiness.com podcast. My name is Kevin O'Flaherty from O'Flaherty Law. I'm joined today by my first return guests, Sajad and Shaun Husain, who own Intellectual Tech. Thanks for coming back, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us again.
Thanks. So today our topic is going to be engaging clients with your website or engaging customers with your website. So let's review what you guys do for those who didn't hear the first episode we did.
Yeah. Here's the 30 seconds again. Intellectual Tech is changing the world by providing web development and custom technology-based services to people like Kevin who are making the world a better place. So we create custom websites, custom software to save time and money, and provide limited business consulting, helping people with a vision, mission, slogan, and logo.
And the topic of the last podcast we did was how custom software can save you time and money. So going a different direction, we're going to be talking about the website end of things that you guys do, and we can dig into the custom software stuff a little bit too. But so you guys build websites for people. Tell me how you get people to engage.
Well, some of the things we've learned over the last few months, we knew before, but implementing a lot more with a lot of our clients now, is creating a blog. So Shaun has built the software now where a blog can be easily implemented into any website. And what that does is it creates a call to action on your website, a reason for people to sign up to a newsletter, and keeps the activity going on the website so that you're ranking higher when somebody does a Google search or a search for your website.
Is there a difference SEO-wise or just engagement-wise from having your website that links to a separate WordPress blog, and maybe you have on the front page the automatic updates from your blog, appearing on the front page of your website, versus having a built-in blog that's internal to your website?
Yeah, there's no real major difference in terms of like if you were to embed or integrate like on top of WordPress. Usually what people do really is they'll just start with WordPress as the base, and then they'll try to build their site around what WordPress gives them, and then they'll add plugins to WordPress for whatever they need. Problem with that methodology is you end up adding a bunch of plugins from people who you can't really trust because they're not really vetted in any way, and then when they push out updates for their plugins, even if it was trustworthy code at one point, it could be doing something malicious later down the line. So we don't trust that from a security perspective, which is why we developed a custom solution to allow you to have the same capabilities. So we didn't want to just tell our clients, no, you can't have a blog or you shouldn't have a blog, because you should have a blog. You need a way to have updated content on your site. But using a solution that is going to always have security problems doesn't seem like really a valid solution to me.
And I asked you guys this question when we did a seminar together a little while ago, and you had a good answer for it. But why is security important, to a small business owner?
Yeah, so a couple of people who potential clients and clients have had WordPress sites and come to us and asked us to do upgrades on their site or fix things up, add things, whatever it is. And 3 out of the 4 of those were already hacked. And the reason that matters then is like if somebody's searching for your business and they find your website and Google says this website's been hacked as the first thing right underneath your website link. And then when they go there, if it says, you should go away, people probably aren't going to come to your site and probably don't really trust your business. Sure. So, especially with people who the crux of their business is trust, like, financial advisors.
Lawyers.
Business professionals, basically, you have to be able to trust the person you're working with. And if the first thing they see is that you don't care about security or privacy of information or anything like that, then how does that extend into the rest of your business? So it's partially about image. And then the other part of it too is, it depends on how much you're doing in terms of business through your site. So some of it could be that you're losing business because your website is down. So it depends on how much your sales is actually online. So
there's 2 other practical issues there too. Usually people are using the same login for your website that they're using for their credit cards and their phone and their airline and everything else. So if somebody scrapes the data off of your website, that data can be used for everything else. And then if you go with free is always very expensive. If you go with a WordPress site, you have to pay for, there's 2 issues there. You have to pay for updates, which I think we looked at it and it was a couple $100 a month to have somebody maintain it. And the second issue is as soon as updates are done in WordPress, there's links online to how to hack those updates.
So what happens if you get a WordPress site and you don't pay for an so these are updates to plugins or something?
Yeah, it's for them to just keep the framework itself, WordPress itself up to date, and any of the plugins or themes that you have installed. So those all kind of go together too. So like when you upgrade your WordPress version, the WordPress theme that you have might not have been upgraded yet, and so now you need somebody to fix that to make it work with the new version potentially. Some things are going to be backwards compatible and just work, but a lot of times you end up having to tweak something or wait until the plugin provider actually updates their code. So those are definitely some weaknesses. What Sajad was saying too about the flaws that are found in WordPress, like if you just Google search on like WordPress hack, like you don't need to be some sort of genius computer elite hacker or something. You just need to know how to use Google, and you can look up how to hack into WordPress, and I mean you can also look up WordPress hardening and learn how to like harden your server to make it harder to hack, and but ultimately really you just need to have backups all the time and keep the patches up to date so that when they release a new patch or a new version, like Sajad was saying, you can look up all the old security flaws in the previous version that they fixed in the new patches, like why was the new patch released, and then you just say, okay, well that means that anything that doesn't have this patch has this exploit inside of it. So then you just look for the versions of WordPress. They have bots that go out and do this, so they're just constantly scanning the internet. Like our site gets hit by these bots all the time too, but we don't have a WordPress site, so I just see that they're trying to get a WP login.php file, because once they see that, then they know it's a WordPress site, then they'll start just sending passwords at it, checking what version it is, using other exploits that are known, and then so these are like automated systems going around exploiting people's sites. And,
Okay.
It's because it's a huge target. It's 20% of the internet. It's such a low barrier to entry. A lot of people use it. So it becomes this massive target for hackers because the name of the game is to collect as much as you can, and then you can figure out of that big haystack, where the needles are that you need. I got off track.
Well, there's a couple again practical implications there. Not as legal as bikes, but as a legal head up. You have a potential for liability issues if your site is the one where people steal all the information from, and then the second part is there what Shaun already talked about. Even if you're not legally liable for people using your website to rip off data, you still have the image problem.
Sure. So other than having a blog on your website, which I think that's something that every web developer I talk to and ask about SEO, they say content is king now. It's not so much about having meta tags; it is about having updated content. Other than having a blog, what are some things you can do to engage people in your website or increase your optimization for content?
Well, so another two things you want to do is to have a call to action, so a reason for somebody to sign up for your newsletter, which is either that their content is really useful or maybe you offer some kind of promotion. So you just need to have a compelling carrot, a compelling reason for people to engage with your website. They're going to get some kind of deal or they're going to get really useful information, or both.
So how do you, I'm a law firm, how do I manage that? If I want to say, if you sign up for my newsletter, you get 20% off your estate plan. How do I keep track of that practically or logistically?
You hire us to create your software, and then we automate the system.
Right.
That's what we were talking about on the car ride here, because we're about to push out not a new product, but a baseline client relationship management software that we were talking about last time. Mm-hmm. But it's at the point now where we're going to allow people to log in and then use it complimentary for 1 month. And then we need to be able to, Shaun's going to design the software where it'll give us a heads up after 30 days have passed, let the client know that their time is up on the complimentary use, and send out an email. So the system can be automated, just like we keep talking about. Everything can be automated where the system does the work instead of a human doing it.
So if, let's say this guy signs up for my newsletter, and then 2 weeks later comes in and schedules a consultation, you could have in that system somewhere that kind of flags that contact as someone who's signed up for your newsletter.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, we just have in the CRM, there's contacts and there's groups, so you can arbitrarily set people in any number of groups you want. So you could just say this is part of the groups of newsletter people. But yeah.
So it's pretty easy to do that. You don't have to spend a lot of man hours transferring people from group to group?
No, I mean it's all a really intuitive interface. It's using like Angular Material Design, which is Google's new thing for how to make phone interfaces and tablet interfaces super easy to use and touch friendly. So it's got all that kind of baked into it already. And then in terms of like who gets entered into what groups, like that would just be an automated thing in the background.
Okay.
So we would just add that trigger in, so when they sign up from the front end, it automatically adds them to that group.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
hands off. Yeah.
So you could, your ideal client, or I guess, the ideal working relationship with you guys is someone who, says, I have this set of things I'm trying to accomplish as far as either rewarding clients or rewarding referral sources or tracking client contact. And you use your baseline system that you've created and customize it so that it does all the different things that they're trying to accomplish in the background without them having to, hire admin staff to do that stuff.
Well, that's why it's really hard talking. It's really hard not to be salesy every time I'm talking to you, because when we talk about business issues, software could fix the vast majority of those issues. That gets rid of the necessity for a human to be creating reports.
Sure.
And the computer's always going to be
Always does the same thing. It's always on time.
It's on time all the time.
Yeah.
And the salary is outstanding. You pay for it up front, and then the system continues to operate without ongoing. There's small number ongoing fee. We charge $20 per user for the CRM, but per administrator. So the amount of money, there's a massive return on investment paying for the software to be created to automate a bunch of systems.
I feel like as a person on the other end of the sales table from you, one of my objections that I would raise is that all this stuff that's being entered in these reports are things that would need a human to actually think about. Do you get that objection sometimes, and is that usually a false objection?
I'm going to give that back to you, but first I just want to address the big picture issue that we've been given before, that custom software sounds expensive and time-consuming and complicated. And for the most part, it's the opposite of all three. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing a good job. It sounds time-consuming, expensive, and complicated if you don't know how the system operates or how to create the system. If you're not Shaun, if this is not what you do full-time, just like the law.
Sure.
A simple case for us somebody would be working on it for 3 years and probably lose their case. They would never get it right because we can't claim expertise, but tech people can claim expertise. They're not an expert tech person. Do you want to address that too, Shaun?
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't really have anything else to add to that.
But you can probably customize it to a level where you're even stuff that you think would require,
Human interaction.
Right. Well, I mean, the thing is, like, the example you gave there is, like, one where it just doesn't require human interaction,
Sure.
like, whatever. There's somebody who came to the site, so there was somebody who came to the site and signed up on the site, But, I mean, there's just not a lot of things. There are things where you need people, you need human interaction, but there's not a lot of, like, menial business tasks where you really need a person to be crunching the numbers, Anything that's a calculation, particularly, or trying to chart things, stuff like that, it just doesn't really make sense to have a person doing that on a day-to-day basis when it can just be automated. Anything to do with numbers is easy to automate.
Analysis, reports, right. That can all be generated by the robots that are taking over the world by the custom. I'm thinking about Terminator through this whole conversation. By the custom software, the human part is necessary for a lot of different parts of business. Actually, one-on-one engagement with clients, networking, marketing. You want to have a feel, but things that are quantifiable, computers can do that.
Right.
So if I were to sit down with you guys at an initial consultation, I think we went over this in the first episode, but it's kind of an important thing to cover. Would it be a situation where we sit down and I bring you kind of, here's my reporting system as it stands, and spend an hour going through, here's what we're doing now in our business processes, and then you guys diagnose and come up with a plan for how you can automate that?
Well, I'll go to the big picture and let Shaun hit the details in terms of the TRD and outline of the project. But another thing that we encounter over and over again with clients and potential clients is people thinking they need to come to us with the full plan, which is not true. most of the people that have come to us and have us build software have come to us with, I need some stuff. We actually had a client, or well, she's a client now, a meeting the other day with a potential client who became our client, who had a full project outline, everything she wanted. And when she handed us the document, she said, this is all I've got. And it was like, well, this is the most amazing thing we've ever gotten before from anybody. It outlined exactly, it was basically a specifications document for everything she wanted. We just needed to insert the tech part and the numbers part, the hours part, and the financial part. It was pretty much a TRD, which is what we create.
And what does the TRD stand for?
Yeah, technical requirements document. So it's just a specifications document that says, here's the outline of what are all of the things that you want to achieve. Here's all of the steps for us to get to those goals. Here's how many hours they take. Here's how much it costs. So that way we can come to you. We look at what you're doing right now. We put together this TRD that says, okay, based on what we know of what you guys are doing right now, here's your biggest time sinks. Here's what we're going to do to address those. Here's how much it's going to cost. And then we come to you with it and we say, what do you think about this plan? And you will look at it and you'll say, you know, some of this stuff is great and I didn't even think about this or that. But then there's these other things I thought of that I didn't tell you guys initially. And, you know, could you squeeze this in onto here? Or this other part is a huge amount of work and really the payoff for us isn't as big as you guys think. So just take it out for now. And it can be tabled for something later, or we just aren't going to do it. So that's usually how we approach it. So we end up with kind of a custom solution for everybody who we're working with. But it's all around, you know, business management. So that's why we have that core CRM, since we can kind of build that out to be whatever we need for any particular client.
You know, as an attorney, people have a really strange perception of a true tech company. Because as an attorney, the client comes to you with a story, and you fill in all the blanks and all the black letter law. They don't even know sometimes, right, whether it's torts, property.
Sure.
They don't even know the realm of law, but you have all this knowledge in your head. And Shaun and our other technical people have a lot of knowledge in their head. So you can just come to us with what you have at this point, and we'll figure out, or we'll help you to figure out, or we'll propose what we think you need in terms of exactly what Shaun said. What are you spending the most time on? You don't need to have the full plan put together. You don't need much of anything. We're not going to charge you for 30 minutes to talk to you, to figure out what you have and show you our added value.
You guys charge to put together the TRD?
We do. It depends on the how complicated the project is. It's between $300 and $500.
Okay.
Another thing is, if we put that together for you and you decide you don't like us anymore after that, you can use that, or even if you still like us, you can use that to vet other companies, because they should be creating an entire plan for your project. And you should see, a lot of people don't trust tech companies too, because they say, oh, you're going to give me a price, and then as it goes on and on, you're going to charge more and more money. And the way we operate our business and the processes we have, it's pretty much impossible, because a TRD is basically a solid contract with all the details to the plan. And so as long as it's within the scope of what we laid out, and it's Shaun writes it out in technical language, and then I put it in plain American English to what those parts and things mean. So you'll understand exactly what you're paying for. And when you go to vet other companies, if that's what you desire to do, you can have that as like a cheat sheet when they're talking to say whether or not what they're saying is real in terms of the amount of time and if they really know what they're talking about or not.
Sure. Okay. So to swing it back to engaging customers, any other tips for engaging customers on your website in particular?
Yeah, no, I mean, not exactly on the website, but
yeah, let's branch it out.
In terms of, just doing this kind of thing, having podcasts, having YouTube videos, there's other ways of having media and content production that gets out there and points back to your name and your brand and your site and explains your story. So, there's a lot of other avenues outside of just the website itself. On the website, I think really the main thing is just having a blog, having a lot of relevant content to whoever the audience is who you're trying to capture.
Making sure it's mobile and SEO friendly.
Right. Yeah, those are big things now. So in April, Google changed the algorithm so that it'll actually check if your site's mobile friendly by seeing how far away links are from each other, and if you did viewport scaling, so you don't make it so people have to pan around on their phone. So if you don't implement a few of these things to make your site mobile friendly, then Google will nix you whenever anybody does a search from their phone or from their tablet or whatever. So they're not sending people to sites that are not mobile friendly when they're on a mobile device, which is smart of them. And then another thing that's changed recently too is in October, the laws with the credit card credit card processing is going to be changing. So basically, like whoever has the weakest point in a system is going to be the one who has to pay for it. So right now, like if you have some sort of credit card fraud that happens, somebody steals your card from Target or whatever, you go to MasterCard pays you back, then MasterCard has to go to Target and try to like get them, they sue them or whatever, they settle and they get some money out of them. So now it's going to actually go directly to Target. So if Target loses your information, you as a consumer have to be paid from Target directly. And it's going to help to push out like the chip and pin technology that's been out in Europe for a while. That's like better security, so you can't just steal your card and start running stuff. They have to know your PIN number and they put it inside a machine that reads it. So the places that don't have that kind of machine and don't have that kind of security are going to suffer.
Yeah, I just came back from a trip to Europe, and it's everywhere there. You don't slide your card anymore. And I came back here, tried to buy groceries, and tried to stick my card into the chip reader, and said, "Oh, that's not up and running yet." Oh, okay.
Yeah, because they don't care until they have to, you know.
Yeah.
But that's how people treat security.
So, Sajad, when I met you at the launch party for the podcast, I think, for the first time, and you sent me an email that had a bunch of, hey, you know, that was a good party, but here's some stuff you could have done better to kind of engage people. I'm not asking you to recall what you said in that email, but when you're throwing an event, do you guys have some tips for how to kind of make the most out of an event and how to engage people with that?
This is my bread and butter. I like that question. So I was a community organizer and a social worker for over 10 years. I've done lots and lots and lots of different events. And just people miss small things that make a big difference. Having an agenda, so people know what's going to happen and when. Making sure you're putting out quality marketing materials in terms of your flyer or other branding for if it's in the scope of what intellectual tech does. I can't think off the top of my head all the things I named about what could be better, but just making sure that your events are well structured and there's a clear plan for every little part of what you're trying to do.
One thing that I didn't have at the first couple events I threw or seminars, I didn't have the sign-in sheet where you could capture emails. That's like the simplest thing. You know, you're losing a ton of value if you're not having people sign in. For the launch party, we did raffles where if they wanted to enter themselves into a raffle for, you know, a bottle of booze or Sox tickets or something like that, they'd have to put down their email and you know, pledge to, you know, review us on iTunes. And it gave kind of a call to action. I thought that worked really well. What aside from once people show up to your event, how to engage them and, you know, do the follow up, any thoughts on how to get people? You know, if you want to throw an event, throw a seminar, throw a networking event, how do you ensure good attendance to those sorts of things?
Well, there's a speech by a guy named Simon Sinek on YouTube called Understanding. Well, it's How Great Leaders Inspire Action, but I retitled it for him, and I call it Understanding the Why. So you want to start with why. There's a lot of crossover here, too, between the website, the software, and face-to-face networking and event planning, which is why you have to have a greater cause and purpose that brings people together. You know, you can do it in the way of having lots of friends and family, and then you get a lot of people to show up. But if you can have a call to action for a greater cause that appeals to a great deal of people. November 5th, I'm doing an event through the Chicago Bar called The Power of an Indictment, which is looking at how does an indictment operate? Why do some officers get charged with murder and others don't when unarmed people are getting killed? And so there's going to be a lot of people that are interested in the topic from all different sides. People that have a strong belief in the system as it is and think
that's a hot button issue right now.
It is. I think it's been a social issue for a long time, and it's just well publicized now. And so there is a why there of why is this happening? How do we change it? So I think there's a lack of understanding on both sides of those who say the system's completely fine and those that are burning cities down and not really looking at how to actually create social change based on the law. So there's I think that there's a lot of people that will be interested for a lot of different reasons, focused on a overall purpose to the event. And so I think whatever you're doing, you want to appeal to people's self-desires.
Mm-hmm.
So have a reason for people to engage with your website, have a reason for people to show up to your event. I mean, you have a really fun event, you got a band, you have free beer,
Mm-hmm.
you know, those two are pretty much good enough reasons to get a whole bunch of people to show up. But if you have other call to actions, like you were saying, your raffle, there was an online one I learned from a social media person presentation where it was giving away an iPad. It was just like a single device for music.
iPod touches or something.
Yeah, it was just the item was minuscule of value. It was like a $50 item, and they got like 10,000 people registered to show up to an event and to go to the website, all trying to win this $50 item. But people just wanted to win the item. So
it didn't matter that it was only a $50.
No, I mean, they could have easily worked another few hours and bought one, based on the number of hours they put into promoting this company via handing out flyers and social media in order to get people say that they use their link to come to this event and this website to win an iPad, right? Or not even an iPad, whatever the thing was called. It was I would check out Simon Sinek, How Great Leaders Inspire Action, and it's only a 15-minute video. He looks at how are you talking about what people are going to get and what they should do, or why should they be a part of this thing? And you want people to be why they should be a part of your thing. You want a greater purpose to your existence for your business, because that will get more people involved.
I've noticed with our events, our poker nights, happy hours, seminars, when we do it on a regular basis, when it's something that you don't want to do it too often, but if you have a regular recurring event, once you have one good event if you have one event with bad attendance, it could kill the whole thing. But if you have an event that you get 20, 25 people out to and everyone has a good time, then, you might get a third of those people out at the next event, as you build your base, you get your sphere of influence where you're going to get anything you do, you're going to get at least 10, 15 people out to, and everybody else that's new, that's not part of your regulars, is going to be gravy. So that's one of the things we've done this year is, trying to have just a systematic approach to our events where people can say, oh yeah, that happy hour was great. When was the next one? Or, if we don't do one for a while, people start complaining to me. So, that's something that's helped us. It's just having a consistent approach and not just saying, I'm going to throw this one-off event, as opposed to saying, okay, we alternate. We have an event every week. Sometimes it's a happy hour, sometimes it's poker, sometimes it's a seminar, and people can pick and choose what works, but they know it's going to be fun and they know that there's going to be good people there, so you get a lot of recurring attendance.
Yeah, I did a really bad job of articulating a clear plan for an event there. But it takes a lot of planning to make an event look like it looks easy from the outside until you get into it. For exactly putting together all the logistics of a plan, you need where, when, why, how. You need the time frame, the location, a budget, marketing materials, marketing team, or at least some kind of marketing system to get people to show up. There's just a lot of work that goes into putting together a really good event.
Yeah. What outside of Facebook and social media, just and your email list, maybe a chamber e-blast, what do you guys do to get your event out there to people that aren't necessarily already in your sphere of influence?
Well, so far we've been working with lots of different organizations and people, and we haven't been putting together our own events for intellectual tech yet. So we did a presentation for the Small Business Administration SCORE group last week. So it was a group of 40 business mentor.
So speaking to a captive audience, basically, where SCORE provides the audience.
They're not necessarily captive unless you capture them.
But it's a baked in audience where you're not responsible for bringing the people to the.
We brought the donuts and the coffee, but they had the venue and they were very happy with the donuts and the coffee. They had the venue and the audience, just like when we did the seminar with you. The venue, you're taking care of all the logistics. So if somebody's trying to promote their company, there's a lot of different ways to get large scale publicity or relatively large scale publicity to talk to an engaged audience who has the money and the desire for your products and services, just by networking.
Sure. Is there anything else you guys want to add about engaging clients before we sign off?
I did, because I brought up networking. Because networking was brought up. Just a couple tips on that. I taught that for over 10 years. So I would say, when somebody's meeting somebody face-to-face, or if you're engaging over the phone or online, what do people like to talk about the most?
Themselves.
Right. So I think that's a large problem people have. They're very intimidated with the idea of networking, whether it's cold calls or calls to hot leads or emails or in person, whereas you can just ask a lot of questions. Where do you come from? How many brothers and sisters you have? What do you do for fun? And there's a way to engage in all the different kinds of mediums, including face-to-face, in order to get a relationship formed with people. And if you get really good at it, you can do it over the phone with people, within 5 minutes, form relatively strong bonds with people all over the world, just by addressing them by their name and asking them how their day is going before directly trying to engage in business. Just a thought on networking.
Well, thanks. So if people want to engage with you guys, how can they reach you?
They can check out our new website at intellectual-tech. They can call us at 630-664-7428, which will go directly to me. Or they can send us an email, it@intellectualtech.com. The best way is via email, and like we said, you can set up a free consultation to discuss your project.
All right, cool. Thanks for your time, guys.
Yep,
Good to have you
much.
back.